Coming up, University of Iowa graduate students fight for higher wages.
A beloved Iowa tradition returns for another year.
A hot guy reaches a new milestone.
The ice is gone, but the cold is not. I'll have the forecast and weather.
All that and more
coming up right now on DITV.
Good morning from Iowa City. It is Friday, February 7th. I'm Ryan Paris.
And I'm Jake Rios.
And the third member of our team, Mark Fortunato, is live outside to tell us today's weather story. After the crazy ice we had the other day, are things going to warm up anytime soon?
Thanks, guys. But unfortunately, warm weather won't be here anytime soon. Right now, I am standing at the Stanley Art Museum where it is a chilly 22. Looking out at the Pentacrest, temperatures will stay the same throughout the day, with a high in the mid-30s in the afternoon before it drops down to those 20s later tonight. As for Saturday, we are expecting temperatures in the mid-30s during the day with a slight chance of freezing rain. I'll have the rest of the forecast later on, but for now, back to you in the studio.
For our top story, the members of the Certificates of Graduate Studies, or COGS, rallied ahead of a big face-off for their wages. DITV News Director Johnny Valtman has what the students want and why it's important to them.
Members and supporters of COGS met outside the Danforth Chapel ahead of their face-off with the Iowa Board of Regents. COGS are continuing their fight for higher wages as negotiations between two sides begin.
We need a living wage. To get to $35,000 a year in Johnson County would be a living wage. That's what we're asking for eventually. Over a few years, we hope to get there.
Entering the Iowa Memorial Union, chants echo throughout the halls.
Now! We don't get it! Shut it down!
Members packed the inside and outside of the homecoming room, but the members of the Board of Regents were not there. Instead, lawyers who would head the opening talks. COGS opened up the talks requesting that many benefits that were eliminated in 2017 be restored. After a brief break, the lawyers returned with their initial offer.
In the face that the Board of Regents came back with a 3% raise for us. Based on our data that we have collected, it should be at least a 25% raise.
The offer was more than the legal minimum, which COGS was fighting for. However, many of the proposed conditions members wanted put back in were left out of the contract.
Also, no, I'll be satisfied when we get a robust contract back from the Board of Regents with everything we asked for and more.
As the meeting drew to a close, COG members wanted to remind what impact they have on the University of Iowa.
We do!
They might not realize that the person teaching them is a graduate student and isn't a full professor. And I think we don't have an exact number, but it's somewhere around 40% of all the classes taught here are taught by graduate students. And I think the university really, our jobs here, without us, the university would not work.
And as COG members left the IMU disappointed with the offer, they'll get another chance on February 20th in a closed-door session with the Board of Regents to try and negotiate a higher pay raise. From the University of Iowa, Johnny Valtman, DITV.
We are now in day 18 of Donald Trump's second term in office. Many University of Iowa students have strong opinions about how they believe Trump's presidency is going so far. DITV reporter Avery Arns has the students' reactions on Trump's first 2 weeks in office.
Many emotions surrounded the University of Iowa campus following the re-election of Donald Trump in November. However, almost 3 months later, we're seeing the immediate effect of Trump's first few weeks in office, and the emotions are still at an all-time high. Democratic, moderate, and Republican students around campus have their thoughts.
I voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for Kamala Harris.
I voted for Kamala Harris.
So far, the last couple of weeks have been really great for America. It's showing great signs. Donald Trump's positivity is at 54%, which is something that a lot of us didn't think would actually happen.
I think he's done a lot of questionable things, in my opinion.
Sadness and anger and frustration at a administration that obviously doesn't care or have empathy for the entire American population.
With the immediate signing of impactful executive orders, Republican voters like Riddle believe this is a positive foot forward.
I'm looking forward to having safety back in America. As we have noticed the last 4 years, the safety crime rate has risen dramatically.
For a moderate voter like Solange, this seems like a poor start for Trump.
I'm not really sure why he would remove us from the Health Treaty or the Climate Act, because I think he's kind of putting money over people at this point.
Riddle is excited to see the progression of the remainder of Trump's presidency. For Wenzel, however, there are deep concerns.
I think we're entering a divisive time. I think that you see it every day on the news. I think we see it every day on social media.
I'm excited. I'm very excited for the next 4 years. I think if all goes well, we should be looking forward to a great future.
While most of the impacts are being felt in Washington, D.C., a wide range of emotions are still being felt here at the University of Iowa. With 4 years remaining in Trump's presidency, students are ready to use their voices to praise Trump and hold him accountable. From the University of Iowa, Avery Arns, DITV.
A new economic opportunity is on the horizon for Cedar Rapids. The Iowa Racing and Gaming Commission awarded a gaming license for a proposed casino in Cedar Rapids. A majority in the Iowa State House supported legislation to stop the administration of new gaming licenses until June 30th, 2030. The proposal did not get past the early stages of voting in the Iowa Senate, so the decision lies with the Gaming Commission. In one of the university's oldest residence halls, a group of students are contributing to a welcoming community.
DITV's Cole Krieger is live in the newsroom with a story from a group of award-winning individuals.
Thanks, guys. The University of Iowa is home to 10 residence halls. Each residence hall is home to a community of students who plan individual community events. But only one of the 10 groups is being nominated and recognized throughout the Midwest.
Reno Residence Hall is home to a strong team of individuals known as the Residents of Associated Reno, or ROAR. This hand-selected group has dedicated their time to making Reno a fun and collaborative community.
Yeah, so ROAR is the hall association here within Reno Hall. It was founded in 1966 when the building opened, so it's 59 years old this year.
In order to build an award-winning community, ROAR dedicates their time to plan events. From bingo to movie night, the members plan events for hundreds of students every month.
It's definitely a long process. It takes everyone's effort. We all have to diversify our tasks.
We all meet one day of the night and we brainstorm ideas, and then after the event we go through and we pick out everything we're going to need to order.
Last month, ROAR was nominated for the Midwest affiliate of University Residence Hall Award. After winning at the campus level, ROAR was nominated at the regional level and was voted as the winner.
I'm not so surprised. We all put in a lot of effort and hard work into really just try to be as active as we can in the group and really show that we can do a lot.
They've done some phenomenal work. They've been very good at what they've been doing.
The members hope to continue contributing to a strong community for the rest of the school year.
So I just hope I get to meet more people and create a better community in Reno.
ROAR plans on submitting Reno into future competitions, but for now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio. Guys, back to you.
The University of Iowa Dance Marathon is returning for another year of festivities.
DITV Assistant News Director Jace Bertrand is live at the Iowa Memorial Union with how preparations are going.
Thanks, guys, and I am in the main ballroom at the IMU with Brandon and Avery. Can you tell me real quick, what do you guys do for Dance Marathon?
I'm the Hospital Liaison Director for DM31.
I'm the Family Liaison Director for DM31.
Perfect. So we have two great leaders of Dance Marathon right now, and earlier we saw that we had a bunch of pillowcases all around the room right now. Can you tell me a little bit about, what's the goal with that?
Every single one of our families receives a pillowcase, so we have over 1,400 families right now. So this is just kind of a version of who's actually going to be at the big event. So we display all of their pillowcases, and then we send it to them at the end of the year. So every year that they're in DM, they have some sort of memorabilia to look back on.
Perfect. And so this is Dance Marathon's 31st year, a long legacy of helping people out. What was your goal this year entering the 31st year?
Well, the main goal is to always just up the last year, right? To see a bigger number on the tote board, to make even more connections than the previous year. I know that one goal for my committee was we tried to highlight our Dancing in Our Hearts families a little bit more. So those are our families that have lost a kiddo to cancer. So trying to make them feel more incorporated with all of our events, our programming, so that they feel more a part of our organization.
Perfect. And so how much money did you guys raise last year?
It was $1.45 million.
Perfect. So that's an increase of money, as I've heard over the years. So what's your goal going to this year to raise more money?
So last year was the first year in 6 years that we saw an increase on the tote board, and so we're anticipating another increase. But we're dancing around We're dancing around numbers like 1.6, but we're keeping it a secret. So we're not entirely sure what the number's at, but we're hoping for an increase.
A lot of exciting stuff, and we're going to have full coverage of Dance Marathon after the weekend. But for now, back to you guys in the studio.
Great stuff coming out of Dance Marathon over there. And coming up later in the show, a nurse in Philadelphia is getting little ones ready for the big game.
Also, the week ahead in weather and a look at Hawkeye sports.
All that and more right after the break.
In Iowa City, history is being made every day. DITV is capturing it all. Politics, sports, and art. Local, state, and nationwide. In front of the camera, behind the scenes, DITV.
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 DITV Sports.
DITV.
DITV.
Is capturing history.
Welcome back to DITV, or tuning in on KRUI 89.7 FM.
Let's take a look back outside with Mark for the forecast for the week ahead.
Thanks, guys. And it looks like the week will be pretty cold and only continue to get colder. The sun will hide behind the clouds for the majority of the week, so be ready to bundle up. Sunday will reach a high in the upper 20s before dropping down to those mid-teens. Monday won't be much different, with a high in the 30s and a low in the low teens. Tuesday is going to get cold with its barely in the 20s with a slight chance of precipitation. Wednesday is going to mirror Tuesday with a high in the lower 20s and a low near zero. And finally, Thursday will bring a slight glimmer of rising temperatures, with a high and low being near the lower 20s. It's going to be a tough one, guys, so be sure to wear your thickest jacket and gloves. Back to you in the studio.
Those winter sports are wrapping up, and teams are making a final push for the tournaments.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Hawkeye sports are heating up, and for more on Hawkeye athletics, we'll send it over to DITV's Hawkeye Sports Assistant News Director, Colin Carithers, who has the full rundown on Hawkeye sports.
Thanks, guys. And with those conference tournaments and national tournaments coming around, it was a perfect time for the women's basketball team. They get a win last night against the Minnesota Golden Gophers as a new Hawkeye joined the 1,000-point club. DITV's Elise Gann made the trip that garnered history.
The Iowa women's basketball team traveled to Minnesota to take on their Big Ten rivals, seeking their 11th win in a row over the Golden Gophers. After a huge upset win against fourth-ranked USC, Iowa continued to ride that wave of confidence that paid off big time in this matchup.
They started with an edge and took it right at us, and we didn't really match that. We started incredibly slowly and dug ourselves a hole. When you want to capitalize and make things happen, that's important. You get the ball there and you got to put it in.
The Hawkeyes wasted no time, taking an early lead over the Gophers, collecting 18 points in the first 10 minutes and keeping Minnesota under double digits with only 7 points of their own. The first half finished with Iowa up by 10 points, but by the middle of the fourth quarter, Minnesota had cut the deficit indefinitely, tying the game at 51 and bringing a Hawkeye-Gopher divided crowd to its feet.
I know there were multiple times when we would cut it pretty close, like you mentioned, and then they would just score. They'd get a rebound, second chance shot, whatever it may be. So I don't know the specifics, but I know that we just can't allow that to happen.
However, Iowa stood its ground, going on a 13-3 run to secure a 68-60 win, with Hannah Stolke scoring 9 points in the final 10 minutes and securing 1,000 career points overall. The Hawks will continue to attempt to build their resume for the NCAA tournament as they take on Nebraska on Monday. From Williams Arena, Elise Gann, DITV Sports.
Well, Hawkeye men's basketball will go to battle with a different rival tomorrow, the 21st ranked Wisconsin Badgers. This will be the second meeting between the foes this year, with Wisconsin coming away with a dominant victory offensively inside the Kohl Center, 116-81. After the game, the Badgers made some comments about Iowa's defense, and let's just say some Hawks took notice.
Yeah, we're all aware of what kind of went on and everything that was said. To be honest, we don't need extra motivation from something like that, but it is on the forefront of some guys' minds.
The Hawkeyes are 13-9 after a hard-fought loss to the 7th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers, and the Badgers currently sit at 18-5, and they're coming off a couple Big Ten victories over Northwestern and Indiana. The game is set to tip off at 12 o'clock inside Carver Hawkeye Arena. Miriam Sandine is a senior cross-country and track runner at the University of Iowa. She was a top finisher on the team many times in the fall, but her success never came easy. Here's a preview of DITV's Joel Keller's story of her battling and overcoming multiple eating disorders on her way to becoming an elite runner.
However, her successes in the sport covered an underlying battle with bulimia that began her first year in Iowa City.
It was difficult. I think college in itself, especially your freshman year, is really hard to adjust. You're away from family and you're trying to figure out who you are in your classes and your friends. And then on top of that, you have a sport. And so my coping strategy was bulimia. I felt like I couldn't be open and honest about it, especially because bulimia is more stigmatized, and when people think of eating disorders, it's just anorexia.
It takes a while to build rapport with student athletes, especially somebody who is struggling with an eating disorder. So I don't blame her for not telling us all the things that she was struggling with.
Her battle with the eating disorders worsened, and right before the regional meet her freshman year, she received an email from the team that said she was not healthy enough to run in the race.
I was really frustrated. It was hard to accept again. It made me feel like I was a failure because I have already gone through an eating disorder, and it was also scary because I didn't know what was going to come next.
You can find the rest of Miriam's incredible story on the Daily Iowans YouTube page and dailyiowan.com later today. But tonight will be another primetime matchup in the world of men's wrestling. DITV's Sam Coopers is live from the Goschke Family Wrestling Training Center to take a dive into this contest.
Thanks, Colin. The Iowa men's wrestling team steps onto the mat against yet another top 10 opponent, the number 7 ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers. The Cornhuskers come into the match with a 9-2 record. The Hawkeyes, after surrendering their first loss of the year last Friday to top-ranked Penn State, have fallen from 2nd to 3rd in the national rankings. Head coach Tom Brands talked about how he wants to see his wrestlers adjust this evening.
We need spoken leadership. There's a lot of ways to lead. You're the guy that needs to step up at your weight class, and you need to go out and do what you can do instead of maybe taking it on the chin over and over again.
The Hawkeyes look to take down the Nebraska Cornhuskers tonight at 7 p.m. at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Back to you, Colin.
And looking at you out there, it definitely doesn't look like it feels like spring outside, but softball season will be back this weekend anyways as the Hawks head south. They'll compete in the 2025 NFCA Leadoff Classic in Clearwater, Florida, where Iowa will have a doubleheader later today and tomorrow, and they'll close out their summer vacation on Sunday morning. I mean, summer vacation, spring vacation, good for them. They get some warmth, but we'll stay up here as watching them, and the 2025 season will start. But it'll also be the beginning for interim head coach Brian Levine, as head coach Renee Gillespie had to step back for this year due to health concerns. Here's what Coach Levine had to say in regards to Coach Gillespie and his personal expectations for the year.
You know, of course, our thoughts and prayers are with Coach G. I'm kind of just trying to keep the boat afloat and moving in the right direction. I think our job as a coaching staff is just to try to, produce an environment that's conducive to winning softball games.
All those games will be available to follow on the Game Changer app. And Iowa Gymnastics will be back home for the first time in 2 weeks on Sunday against Rutgers. Last time out, the Hawks, they took down Nebraska in what was new head coach Jen Llewellyn's first Big Ten victory. She'll look to follow that up with their new competition for National Girls and Women in Sports Week. The match will be available on Big Ten Plus at 2 p.m.
Well, Jake, the weather is cold, and there was a real big ice storm the other day. It definitely affected everybody going to class.
Yeah, it was definitely brutal. I mean, I almost slipped myself going to class, but we'll send it over to Mark Fortunato, who has more weather.
Thanks. And on Wednesday, the Midwest was hit by a rush of freezing rain. Iowa City experienced an intense ice storm, causing quite the commotion both in the city and on campus. Some night classes ended early or just canceled so students could get home before the wet ground became too icy. Still, a lot of people had to commute through the hazardous conditions, causing cars to get stuck and people sliding down on the streets. Thankfully, most of the ice is melted so people can commute safely. Back to you guys in the studio.
One Pennsylvania nurse is showing her love for the Philadelphia Eagles by making onesies for newborns at a hospital in Philadelphia. Crystal Hallmeyer began making the onesies to combine her love for the Eagles for her passion for childcare. How It Matter hopes the onesies will add for a personal touch of excitement for.
Thanks for joining us online or listening on KUI 89.7 FM. For everybody at the Daily Island, Ryan Paris and Jake Rios. We'll see you next week.